I am recording. Ba ba ba.
I am recording. Ba ba ba.
I am recording. Ba ba ba.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the 608th episode of the Pokemon Podcast. It's super effective. I'm your host, Steve. With me is Hannah.
Hello, I am here. I've been watching the new anime, and Liko talks in her head so much. It feels so real. We'll talk more about that, but Liko's so good.
Is she, though? She's a pretty bad trainer.
She's learning.
She learned
Ash
a
didn't
quick
lose
attack.
a Pokemon in the first 3 episodes. That's all I gotta say.
Greg is also here.
I am also here. I have also been watching Horizons. I was watching it right before I started coming up here and setting up. I was like, y'all aren't awake, so I'm going to watch me some Pokemon anime.
I was awake.
I finished Horizons, so that will be a big part of the show. Although there will be no spoilers for the anime that we only got 12 episodes of that Japan has 45 episodes of. There will be no spoilers.
The episodes that have been out there for a full year in other parts of the world.
Yeah, but we will. I think there are 22 English episodes if you were to switch to the UK broadcast. Anyways, because there's no difference between the UK and the American. They didn't get new voice actors for this too. I think there's only 2 sets of voice actors, Japanese and then English.
It lists a bunch of other languages. I promise. I checked.
Because I was well, okay, hold on. Before we talk about the anime, because that's the first part of the show. We got anime, we got raids, we got Toyota makes a motorcycle about Miraidon, and then we have Pokemon GO Fest. That's the episode for you guys. Okay, so Pokemon Horizons. I thought I misremembered. I was wrong. I thought that not Veronica Taylor. I thought that Sarah Natacheni was Roy. I thought that was talked about from last year's San Diego Comic-Con, that people were excited that Sarah was in it.
Sarah is in it, just not as Roy.
But not as Roy. But Roy, if you didn't know any better, or if somebody said, "Hey, Sarah's Roy," you could probably be like, "Oh yeah, that sounds like Sarah," but it's not her.
Yeah, the voice actor of Roy, Anjali Kunapaneni, that
was our last name. That was definitely.
I listened to a couple of interviews to try to make sure I got it right.
Okay.
They sound very similar to Sarah, so I also had to look it up just to make sure that Ash didn't just turn into Roy. Yeah.
I was. Again, I just remember, and it's probably just me misremembering. I just remember that they showed that first 12 minutes of the Pokemon anime over a year ago at San Diego Comic-Con, and the big news was Sarah was back, and then people were talking about Roy. So I guess in my head I was like, oh, Sarah must be Roy, but Sarah is just the very first girl that says who is that girl, referring to Liko.
And some of the Pokemon, I think.
Yeah. I thought they would have given her a bigger role. I mean, I'm sure she'll be multiple random girls or boys returning characters. But yeah, in my head, I was just like, oh, she's going to be Roy. That makes sense because Ash is a boy. She plays young. It's very common for women to play young boy characters. But no. And the more I saw Roy, I was like, oh, okay, this is if you saw 10 minutes of Roy, you'd be like, this sounds like Sarah. But now that Roy is fleshed out, I'm like, okay, Roy is definitely his own person. So, okay. There's 12 episodes on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing here on Pokemon.com that would add anything new here. Follow Liko and Roy. I do have something that refers to an interview with Ash, but before we get to that kind of stuff, Hannah, how far are you in Horizons?
I am halfway through. So I have met Liko and I have met Roy and I have seen their partner Pokemon and those beginnings of interactions. And I'm really enjoying all of it. Honestly, I like it as much as I expected. I like it better than the anime with Ash that was kind of getting repetitive. I know they continued to improve on it, but this feels like it's an actual story.
25 years
A little
isn't
more.
repetitive?
I mean, I liked the old anime. I grew up with the old anime, but I don't know whether it's because I just like Liko or because I like the fact that this feels like a brand new story, completely unlike what we have had before in a lot of ways. I'm really enjoying it. Liko is kind of introverted and overthinks a whole lot, and there are some points where it's kind of hard to tell whether she's talking out loud or just thinking to herself, and the animation isn't as good as it used to be, so that makes it even harder to tell sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But I still really like the characters. Plus,
they blew
we
their
have a
budget
bunch
on
of
that last season of Ash.
we have a bunch of adult Pokemon trainers as main characters in this new series, or at least as primary side characters.
Yeah, it's kind of... They don't even say Liko's age at all.
No?
If
No.
it's like Paldea, she should be closer to like 14.
Yeah.
Which also I feel like makes sense because I feel like as a 10-year-old, I wasn't in my head as much as I was as like a... What grade are you in 14? Like high school?
Probably
14 is
freshman, depends. Freshman
in high school, yeah.
It also depends on how your high school was set up. Because
Yeah, that's true.
when I started junior high was 7th, 8th, 9th. And then I switched schools, and their junior high was only 7, 8, and their high school was 9, 10, 11, 12.
Yeah, my high school was 9, 10, 11, 12.
That varies, but yeah, you're around the ninth grade.
Yeah, I don't know. It does come across... I'm pretty sure in Paldea, your characters are supposed to be like 14. And
Yeah,
in Sun and Moon,
somewhere
I
in
think
there.
your characters are supposed to be like 12. I don't know. They've like slowly aged it up.
Is it just me, or does Liko come across as a little bit older than Roy?
No, she does.
Okay.
I mean,
it's hard to tell.
it's hard to tell because Roy is excitable, and
Yeah.
we equate excitability with immaturity. So he reads younger, where they may be the exact same age.
Yeah, that's absolutely fair. There was also a height difference that had me thinking that at one point, too.
Oh, I guess I didn't think about Roy's age as much as Liko versus Amethio versus Freed. Because I can't tell how old Amethio is compared to... Like, Freed is adult, right? Obviously, Freed
is in his 20s, probably.
I guess there will be minor
At
spoilers.
least.
Minor spoilers. It's like episode 3. They say that Freed is a professor.
That's in episode 6. I can.
Yeah. Yep. I just
they definitely say it before the first 4 episodes because I knew that in New York. They say it really quickly, and then they flesh it out more in episode 6. That he is a professor.
Yep.
No, they say it exactly in episode 4 because that's when you meet Roy. That Freed is professor.
Yeah, because the old grandpa guy calls him professor.
Yep.
And he says, don't.
Yeah.
That was maybe episode 5.
It was 100% in the first 4 episodes because that's all I saw in New York, and I knew leaving New York he was a professor.
I don't know. I'm just in episode 6. I don't know. I'm halfway through. I don't pay attention because I just let them run. So I'm like, I don't know what episode this is. When it's done, it's done. I'll look when I have to start up again.
So
But
Professor being
Freed is
adult.
definitely an adult.
Yes.
And so then that, like, I have no clue in what age range Amethio is. Like also adult because it looks like he has a job. He's clearly employed. I don't know.
You don't have to be an adult to be employed.
Sure. But like, he's not reporting to school, or at least we're not seeing him reporting to school.
I mean,
he feels like a teenager. He feels like a Zuko character.
Yeah.
Slightly older than the main characters.
He feels in the 17, 18, 19 range.
Yeah. Maybe even, I would say 16, 17. 17 kind of.
You know, in that 4 years where, you know.
He's people's bosses, but he also has a boss.
Yeah, I mean,
but there's clearly some nepotism going on there.
Yeah, it's clearly people's bosses, sort of, kind of. I mean, this is an evil organization. We don't know what their power structure is yet.
Greg, how far are you? Do you know?
I'm about halfway, I think. I don't know what episodes I'm because I don't pay attention.
Oh, okay.
I'm in an episode after everybody is finally on
the airship.
So everybody, no more like these are the main character introduction stuff. Like everybody is now together and they're all frustrating me because again, they write them where like, who could this character be? And I'm like, if you pay any attention, you know who this character is, but fine, whatever. It's supposed to be a mystery who some of these people are. And I'm like, is it though?
Yeah, I think it's fine. I mean, like, again, I think it's probably less obvious. I don't know if that thing didn't exist for the last year and you would like see like random screenshots and you're like, they gotta put two and two together eventually. Just some disclosure here. The Pokemon Company paid for me to go out to New York. They paid for my flight and hotel. I went to a red carpet. There was actually a red carpet. It was very tiny, though. I went to a red carpet preview of Pokemon Horizons. I took a bunch of video that I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with because it's just a venue that had like popcorn and stuff. And obviously you couldn't film the screen. That would be weird. But I did see the first 4 episodes. They invited like 100 people out. I don't know how. I was told like 30% were content creators, 70% were like people of media. So like IGN, GameSpot, people who report on news. People were allowed to bring like +1s and their kids. Their kids counted for +1s. So you saw a lot of games media bring their kids. So I would say there was probably like 20%. If you imagine 100 people, imagine like 80 adults and then 20 kids, which is still not a good ratio. That's still too many kids. But they had a good time. They had they had their like coloring station. Pokemon loves coloring stations. Like you go to like a Worlds or Nationals or Regionals, any of these events, they got coloring stations. I met Captain Pikachu. We got a picture with Captain Pikachu. He was real great. They had like a bar, but the bar was all non-alcoholic drinks, so you could get like a Pokeball fruit punch. That's pretty
that
cool.
Sounds great.
Did it have
just
like a
punch?
white liquid and a red liquid on top?
It's just it had like the salt on the rim, but then it was just fruit punch.
So like a margarita without the alcohol.
Just fruit punch.
Yeah, so like a margarita without the alcohol. But how is it Pokeball then? Like they should have like done
it
that.
Was in the cup. The cup had like the Pokeball. Like the top half of the cup was like frosted.
Boo.
Or the bottom half. Yeah, bottom half. Because that would have been more white, and then the fruit punch turned the top red. Look.
Sure.
It was the theme that counted. They did. This drove me insane. Again, thank you, Pokemon, for inviting me. They had free tote bags, and then they would embroider your initials on the tote bag, which is very cool. And they had 3 tote bags you could pick from. The first one was Sprigatito. The second was Fuecoco. And the third was my favorite starter, Captain Pikachu. There was no Quaxley. They had 3 tote bags, 2 of the starters, and Captain Pikachu.
Unacceptable.
They've definitely decided which are the popular ones.
I was like, they're like, where's the Quaxley? And they're like, I know, we're upset too. And I was like, when you watch the anime, at least the first 4 episodes, you understand maybe why they don't do a Quaxley bag. But Quaxley's in it.
Yeah, I mean,
there is a Quaxley.
Quaxley's also a starter of the region that's been out for 2 years before your anime hit.
It's very much for the Quaxley thing. It's very much like what Sword and Shield, where it took forever for Ash to get Sun and Moon. It took forever for Popplio to show up in Sun and Moon.
Oh yeah,
forever. Yeah. And at least Quaxley's like there on the airship, and like no one acknowledges him until later. But like,
there is a Quaxley present. It's in It's in the end theme, at least. Maybe even the entry theme.
There is in the entry theme.
Yeah, Quaxley's there.
Quaxley's all over the place. Y'all are just haters.
Yes. I there's the YouTuber. The YouTuber has a Quaxley, and there's a Quaxley on the airship. There's 2 Quaxleys. And you could also put 2 and 2 together eventually. Yep. But, you know.
Yep, you sure could.
You could. You know, it could be like another Squirtle squad. Maybe there's just many Quaxleys walking around this world, and they will all meet up.
And one put out fires.
One of them will have glasses. I really, really enjoyed all 12 episodes. I think there was like, out of the 12 I watched, this is how I always gauge anime or just like any form of TV. This is why I like when people are like, Steve, you like wrestling? You watch wrestling? Watch is a really strong word to use when I'm like wrestling is on, something else is taking. Like it's there somewhere behind my computer screen as I'm like working on something. So I always gauge how I like TV based off of like, how often am I picking up my phone? How often am I checking Twitter or maybe not paying attention? Like the One Piece live action, I was very much like, I can't look. I need to know. I can't look away. This is very good. I enjoyed that a lot. There's like only like 1 or 2 parts in the 12 episodes where I was like, okay, come on, let's get a move on here. But I think the pacing is really good. And obviously I watched with a bunch of people in New York, and then I was like, all right, I was like, I'll start over on my couch, just in case there was anything cut, I guess. I don't know. Like, I was like, there was no Who's That Pokemon in New York.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, maybe they cut that. So I was like, let me watch the first episode again. I was like, oh no, we're just done with Who's That Pokemon, I guess.
Well, there's no commercial
intermission.
Break.
Yeah.
There's no intermission. They're not even pretending anymore that this is on a TV station that has to run ads. They're like, nope, you're already paying what ads would take care of. So,
but it is on like Tokyo TV, and it's on Canadian TV. I think it's on their normal TV in Canada. It's on somebody's regular TV. So it's kind of weird that there's not Who's That Pokemon or something of the sort. I don't know. For me, this anime felt like an anime.
Yes, exactly.
And I don't know how to describe that.
That needs actual explanation from both of you.
All right, hold on. Hannah, hold your thoughts, or you form a better thought than I'm about to form. You do that. I would say old here, and I think Greg can relate to this. I don't think old Pokemon ever felt like an anime. I felt like old Pokemon felt like Scooby-Doo. Scooby-Doo was monster / bad guy of the week, Pokemon was very much like, which Pokemon are we going to find this week and help solve that problem? And you could pick any episode of Scooby-Doo, you could pick any episode of Pokemon and understand the gist of it. Just be completely okay with like, okay, this week there's a Heracross, it got stuck, it sucked the nectar out of a Bulbasaur, problem solved, we'll move on to next week. This week there's a Wimpod, he's scared, we solved his, he's no longer scared, he got over his fears, and now he's a scary Golisopod. Episode done. You're good. There are, of course, some episodes of the Pokemon anime where they do leave a cliffhanger and stuff. But every episode of Horizons is literally like an anime cliffhanger of like, there's like 2 episodes, I think, like that kind of end like, okay, we could stop here. This is
well, let's say so far. we
only
have 12 of what's a long series of filler, and if there's anything we want to talk about with anime is they love their filler episodes. I understand that you're saying it has the first episodes have lean into the overarching storyline more than a lot of the first seasons of Pokemon ever did, because it was like, okay, well, if we just did 8 gyms and the Elite Four, that's just 12 episodes, and we needed to get 42 out of this, so we're gonna have to pack it in. But like, if you go into later parts of Pokemon the anime where they do have an overarching thing, they do sometimes do that. I think this is leaning a little bit more that way, but I think it's real early to say.
It is kind of early to say.
It's a little early.
But I do think that it's helped by the fact that a lot of people are streaming this, and that a lot of people aren't watching it on live TV, that they're maybe more open to doing something that is an actual storyline than just doing a Monster of the Week type of thing, which some anime are Monster of the Week. That's never quite been my thing. So
Star Trek was very much Monster of the Week at a certain point back in the day.
A lot of
TV shows, when you have to fill 24 episodes, you're going to be like, well, we have a plot line that'll last 4. Yep. What else are we going to do?
And when it's on a TV once a week, every week, and somebody new could be picking it up every week, you kind of have to have the basics of every character in every episode. Yep. But with streaming, you don't have to do that quite as much anymore. That's one of the reasons I think that we're getting more story here.
I mean, TV watching has changed drastically. And how things are approved for TV have changed drastically. I don't say necessarily that Pokemon has this problem where they have to prove themselves in only 13 episodes to see if they're getting picked up. Like, Pokemon is going to last for however long as they want to.
Are we going to get 12 more episodes of Horizons? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. But I think they have to match what is happening currently in how entertainment is run. So most shows where they used to get 26 episodes are now almost always only ever approved for 13. And they have to pace their plot in those 13 episodes to get enough interest to maybe get continued. And that is how we are used to watching TV shows now, whether it's on TV itself or in streaming, because if you watch things on Hulu that are week by week, it does the same structure, right? Like, this is just how media has changed to meet whatever they've decided demand is. So I don't know that this path is going to last. I don't know that we are going to have a full-on drive, every episode's driving towards this one plot line, because they do have a much longer arc that already exists, but they can't sort of ignore how media works currently.
I'm not sure I would agree with all of that. Even the shows that are week by week on Hulu or even Netflix or anything like that, you can still go and binge watch all the episodes that come before that. And so that means that they're not really episodic in the same way that they used to be. And I would say that even today, the trend is more towards 6 to 8 episodes than 12 or 13. And I'm really glad that Horizons isn't.
Yeah,
there.
I mean they've dropped it again, which is unfortunate.
I don't like the 6 to 8 episodes. That feels too short for it. Almost any season of a show.
They keep chopping it down, which is a bad trend in television creation. As a bad trend in general entertainment creation, where they just keep chopping down how much you get before you're approved again. And I could go off about why they do that and the money that they quote unquote save. But I think I don't see how, given sort of the general deepness of what the central mystery is, that there aren't going to have to be filler episodes.
I mean, there already are filler episodes.
Yeah. Like, they're going to have to start filling some stuff in, because otherwise they can.
Are you saying
pretty
the
much
first,
close
the
this
first
up
12
pretty
have filler?
There are parts of the episodes that feel like filler, less than just geared towards the story 100% of the time. There's always going to be straying off the path some, and that's not a bad thing.
I guess you guys didn't finish, but like there are two at the end of 12 episodes. There are 2 plot points, not one. They add like 2 missions. Like Liko has her mission, and then Roy has his mission. And they really like lay that out at the end of the 12 episodes. And like they do a good job at saying like, here your 12 episodes are done. Now you kind of know what's going forward for the next 12, which again has been out in Japan for a while.
Yeah.
So, and I'm assuming, because there are some things in the first 12 that they don't answer, which I thought like, oh, okay, like this door is going to open and we're going to get answers here.
Mm-hmm.
And that door never opens. And so I'm assuming once that door opens, that could be literal or figuratively. Once that door opens, there's probably a third overarching task / goal that needs to happen. I am curious in the long term of things, because I've tried my best in the last year to avoid spoilers and like to not look at anime Twitter or anime threads or like, because people get really excited about the Pokemon. I get it. People get super excited. They post. They're like, oh my gosh, this Pokemon got introduced. This trainer is here. This gym leader is here. Totally get the excitement around it. Very hard as somebody who reports on Pokemon news to avoid all of that for the last year. But I guess the question that pops in my head is like, does Liko and Roy and whoever else decides to join them, there's no way this is a 25-year-old story. Like, is this going to last a year? Is this going to last 2 years? Are they going to pick new characters? Are they doing a thing where like Horizons is going to represent 3 years of Scarlet and Violet? Yeah, Scarlet and Violet. I was like, what game are we at? And then are they going to switch other characters? Like, there's so many questions, because we were used to just Ash being this filler, not like literal filler, but like Ash was always there. He was just always.
It was always
there.
Ash.
Yeah. It was all right. So like there was never any questions. It was Black and White are coming out. Cool. Ash is going to Unova. X and Y is coming out. Cool. Ash is going to Kalos. Like there was never any doubt in people's mind that this was just like what was going to happen with the anime.
Yeah. Because like I think Diamond and Pearl was 4. I think it was 4 seasons before Ash went to a different region, because I just had to rewatch those. Kanto was. It feels like a lot, because like the first episode of Kanto is like 78,000 episodes.
Also, if we were doing the pacing of Indigo League, right? Because they go from Kanto in Horizons, they go from Kanto to Paldea in less than 12 episodes. If this was Indigo League, that would have been like 48 episodes.
Yeah.
It takes Ash so long to get from one gym to the other. And I get they're on an airship. They're not walking. Ash was walking, but also like if I think about journeys, that almost felt like unrealistic pacing. Like you would start the episode and Ash and Go would be like, we're going to Hoenn today. And like their base is out of, well, okay, the Hoenn was a bad example. They'd be like, we're going to Alola today. And their base is out of Kanto,
Yeah.
and then they would just be there. And at the end of the episode, they would be back.
They would
Again,
go home.
They're jet setters. They're just all over the place, all over the time.
Complaint about Journeys is how small they made the world feel.
But Journeys also to me felt very Scooby-Doo of like, we went to this area and now we're back at home at the very end.
Yeah. I mean, that it was very much tells single stories in the entire world instead of like one overarching plot. Like Go kind of had an overarching plot, but they hit on it so rarely. It was like every fourth episode. It was like, oh,
If
Go,
that.
remember you're doing that thing?
Once every 10 episodes, even.
Yeah.
Hey, but he caught a lot of Pokemon
He did.
every episode. He just whipped Pokeballs left and right.
How many seasons was Journeys? Was that also 4?
It was 3 plus the 10 episode goodbye thing. So technically 4.
Yeah, technically 4.
I was looking at this last night because I was like, what if I just because I still never watched the like 10 goodbye episodes for
What?
Ash.
You haven't even watched Hisuian Snow yet either, and that's even easier to watch.
I watched all 12 episodes of Horizons last night in preparation. I liked it. I liked it a lot. I liked it so much that I'm like, what if I try to find the other English episodes that exist? And I was like, nah, I'll just wait.
Nah,
but we don't.
Just wait. Just
we
wait
don't-
till next year when it finally comes out on Netflix again.
But they didn't even say what the schedule is. Like,
No.
we're just assuming it's every 3 months because that's what they did with Journeys. But we have no clue what the schedule is. Oh, also, again, I was at New York. I did ask. I was like, hey, why did this get pushed back? Why did this wait so long? And the answer I was given was a little generic, but it was like Netflix.
Netflix.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I take that for what it's worth. I'm not saying it wasn't completely the Pokemon Company's fault, but it sounded like, yeah, Netflix kind of pushed some things around. So I don't know. Okay, before we go to break, this was off. This was pulled from. This is off Anime Mojo, but it was pulled from Variety, but it was pulled from Toonando. Doesn't matter. We're just doing the quote here. There was an interview with Pokemon Company International executives Andy Goose, who is the senior director of media production, and Taito Koryu. I can't say their last name. Hannah.
Looking for it in the article.
It's between all the ads.
Between all the ads, there are a lot of ads.
There are a lot of
Yep,
ads
exactly.
on here.
Exactly. It's like right before the bolded part.
There are also a lot of bolded parts. Taito Okiura.
There we go.
Yeah.
That's why we have Hannah on the show. They're the vice president of marketing for Pokemon. And the first quote is, Ash and Pikachu have had a fantastic run. They're so iconic, and they've been an entry point for so many folks into the brand over the years. We've gotten the multi-generational effect where folks have grown up with them and they're sharing with their kids, nephews, and nieces, end quote. New quote here is, we've grown up with them and it feels like there's more to the world and more characters to explore. So 28 years in, it feels like why not meet some new folks in the world and experience the adventures of Pokemon through a different lens. And then, so that was from Senior Director of Media Production for the Pokemon Company. And then Taito quotes, Pokemon kind of has a mandate. We evolve. I'm personally passionate about Ash and Pikachu, but that being said, after 28 years of Pokemon has been evolving in multiple forms, including the video game, trading card game, and other games. Now there will be a possible opportunity for the animation field to evolve. We're very excited to have the introduction of new protagonists, especially a female protagonist. And then they went back to Goose. And then he says, quote, we said farewell. Ash is still in the world. Anything is possible, I suppose. In the world of Pokemon, there are so many possibilities, end quote. And then finally, the final quote here from what is his name?
Okuda?
Yes, is we hope Ash and Pikachu continue their journey. Their journey is going somewhere in the world of Pokemon. It's totally up to fans' imaginations. For the time being, we would love to focus on the new story of Liko and Roy. Horizons invites a new beginning.
Until they need to re-up that copyright, and then Ash will come screaming back.
Until anything is possible, and Ash shows up for an episode.
Oh, there's no doubt he will.
Yeah, for sure.
There was, on this show, on social media, of people thinking for a very long time that Ash would be like Liko's dad or something of the sort. You do meet Liko's dad, for the record.
And it's not Ash?
It's not Ash.
Are we sure it's not Ash in disguise?
I think, I don't know why people were so upset that Ash never aged, because there's lots of TV shows where characters don't age. And then there are TV shows where they do age characters, and then it's not any better. But we do meet gym leaders, like there was a big announcement that Iona would eventually be in the anime. I think she is in the anime for Japan already. I don't know how many episodes it takes for Iona to show up. They made a big deal about that. Very hard to avoid that. So we know Iona's in the anime at some point. She's not in the first 12 episodes. So sorry to anyone hoping that she would appear. But I think there's like an older gym leader, and I feel like I know who that is. I don't want to spoil it for anyone. They do see an older gym leader. So it would be very weird where if in your mind you're like, well, maybe Ash is now 20 instead of 10 and Liko is 14. If you were to age Ash, you have to age all these gym leaders. And then all of a sudden, like, I get that there are definitely like flashbacks. Like, we've seen Professor Oak when he was like 10 years old in like the Celebi movie. Like, I totally get that. But like in your Pokemon world, everyone's kind of just the same because they all just exist and they keep adding more characters. Pokemon Masters would probably be like, yes, give us older.
Yeah.
We need more polls for these characters. Like, I guess technically, like, everything in somebody's gonna, I know, I already can see the comments, like, technically Gold and Silver are 2 years in the future, and like technically like Red and Blue appear at the end of Sun and Moon, and they're like slightly older as well. But also, like, all of that got thrown out the window with Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire because they're like, multiverses.
Yeah, multiverses exist. I mean, so there are some that are direct sequels. Like, we know Johto happens after Kanto. We know Black and White 2 happened after Black and White because time goes fast.
Hold on. Black and White 2 happens after Black and White?
Yeah. It does happen. We know that Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire happens before X and Y.
I guess we know that technically the Sun and Moon anime happens before the games because they're not trial leaders yet. Like, there is like some leeway.
They have a wild timeline that I don't think anybody's paying any attention to.
But Ash,
some people are paying attention to it.
Some people,
Ash,
I don't think they're at the
somebody's
company.
dad really throws off a lot.
Yeah.
I totally get why they wouldn't also bring Ash back in like the first year or two because they don't want to take away from these new characters.
I mean, this is a 30th anniversary thing. Like, let's like Ash. There's no way Ash is not making an appearance in the 30th anniversary year. That is like the most easily predictable thing I think we can make on this show is that the 30th anniversary, Ash and Pikachu are coming back. They're going to be a banner and Masters again, so you have to wait a number of years for that. They're going to show up in a bunch of different games. Like, Ash is coming back for the 30th. Let's be real.
Speaking of Pikachu, I know we said we were going to take a break. We didn't talk about Farid and Pikachu at all, which I think are my two favorite characters. And I think they did a really, really good job at making Captain Pikachu different than Ash's Pikachu.
Yeah.
They're punches.
Totally different characters.
He punches instead of bolts. What else? That's it. He punches instead of bolts.
There's just something about Captain Pikachu that they just did such a good job. Obviously, Pikachu can only say Pikachu, but even
in
with
a different voice.
with his limited vocabulary, there's just something about him, like the confidence, the captainness of Captain Pikachu that they did such a good job with.
I can't
and
get
it feels
over how
different.
he's just called Cap all the time.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
someone who did watch a bunch of Marvel movies, and my only mental image of anything being called Cap is Captain America. Now it's Pikachu.
There you go. Move over, Marvel.
Yep. There's a new sheriff in town.
Boat captain in town. Okay. So hopefully we, I don't know. I feel like either people started Horizons because they were excited this past weekend, or they just don't care. Maybe if you didn't care, the last 40 minutes maybe convinced you to start. I think it's cool. But I don't know. I liked it a lot. So we'll take a break. When we come back, we got some more Pokemon news. So we will be right back. And we are back from our break. If you're listening to this right now, on Monday, the 7-star Blastoise are still active until Tuesday evening, afternoon.
Yeah.
I don't know. Does it go forward or backwards with daylight savings time? How does this mess
Spring
up the
forward,
raids?
fall back. We sprung forward, hopefully for the last time ever. Please just end this daylight savings time nightmare. It is the worst, and it never made sense. It doesn't make sense now. It's just dumb.
So Blastoise should leave at 7 p.m. then, Central Time? If Venusaur left at 6.
I think so. Because
I think
that's what it was before the time change. Yeah.
If you are confused about time change right now and you have not done Blastoise, pull over in your car, connect your phone to
Fire up your Switch, make a hotspot,
and do Blastoise as soon as possible. I did make a guide on Blastoise, and there's Pokemon that you can use for Blastoise. If you need help, the Discord can help you, the Slack can help you if you're in either of those. But then Charizard will go in rotation on Tuesday evening, and that will only last till Sunday. So Charizard will not be a full week. It will 5 days, I think. Tuesday to Sunday is 5 days. This is the first time they're repeating a 7-star raid. We have no clue if Charizard is going to be exactly the same. I think the website kind of says it's going to be the same, but they could activate the shield a little bit earlier because they wouldn't say that anyways.
Yeah.
So if you're basing it off the same like move set and stuff, I'm gonna actually have like I think 4 or 5 new Pokemon. I'm not sure if this video goes up if my Charizard guide will be out, but there's better Pokemon have exist now. Like there's still some good ones, but like we know the power of Acid Spray. We have a Pokemon called Alcremie, who is very good here that can decorate and just make the raids go much, much faster if it is exactly the same. So I'll have those Pokemon put up. And if you missed Charizard for the first time, which I think is a lot of people, remember, you had to beat the game. You had to unlock 6-star raids. You had to do a lot in 2 weeks of that game coming out in order to like challenge Charizard. And that was all before Christmas, and we've had 2 Christmases with this game now. So I think a lot of people, because it came out in November, that was Christmas, then the DLC, that was Christmas. Yes. So a lot of people get games for Christmas. I'm assuming a lot of people miss Charizard. So, and even though they said the raid is going to be exactly the same, is it going to drop Herba Mystica? Because that's not exactly the same.
Yeah.
Like changing the whole entire loot table is not the same. So that's why I'm like, it'll probably be mostly the same, but I can see them changing the loot table and maybe how the shield works, and maybe they remove, because he has like Terra Blast and Dragon Pulse, and they literally do the same damage. They do the same thing. There's no reason for him to have both. Like, Charizard's one of the very few Pokemon that had 8 moves, but it didn't really benefit. He has also like 3 fire moves. I think he has like Inferno, Overheat, and Flamethrower, and they kind of stopped like doing that. You could tell over the last year they've like
Gotten better
at like how to build the 7-star Pokemon. Charizard, they're like, let's just give him as many moves as possible. We'll figure it out. So, I'll be helping with Charizard if you need Charizard. If you've already caught a Charizard, you cannot catch another. But if it's the Herba Mystica thing and everyone's using fairy Pokemon, Charizard might be the best way to get Herba Mystica. Because Venusaur did the really annoying thing of increasing its special defense. Blastoise did the very annoying thing of increasing its physical defense, and Charizard didn't have. Well, Charizard increases its attack with Sunny Day because of its ability Solar Power. So that can be annoying for sure.
Charizard why I did the Dash Bund?
Yes.
Yep.
A lot of people did Dash Bund. And that was like everyone put ability shields on their Pokemon because they thought that mattered, but it only matters for one turn. You could just heal cheer or defense cheer that turn and you'd be fine. We've learned a lot from 7-star raids in the past year and 4 months. So yeah, Charizard should be Tuesday night. This is just your warning call to do your Blastoise because we have no clue when Blastoise and Venusaur, if they're ever going to come back. So some more Scarlet and Violet news. Toyota. It's a real small Japanese company. They made a real life Miraidon motorcycle.
Yeah. I'm willing to risk my life in a vehicle that has a 100% accident rate just to be cool.
Members of the Toyota Engineering Society, an organization of Toyota employees created to enhance their technical skills and talents of its members, decided to take on the crazy task of bringing a rideable Miraidon into the real world. As you can see of these images, we'll have this in our show notes. This is off Go Nintendo. They've already cooked up a pretty impressive prototype. Obviously, this is not production that Toyota will mass produce. It is a project for the Toyota Engineering Society. And it's definitely a real life Miraidon motorcycle.
It looks neat. I don't really understand how the wheels work, but it looks cool.
Yeah, I don't know how the wheels are structured either. I think it would be more impressive if we saw it driving, but we've only just seen it.
Yeah, we've only seen the still shots of it.
Yeah. The eyes light up, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it looks cool. Hopefully we get more of this, because I just think this is really neat. Also, like, they don't say, nor could I find, like, how much involvement the Pokemon Company had, if any. Like,
there's been no mention of that.
Did they just start building it? Did they were like, hey, Pokemon, we want to do this? Like, they don't need their permission, obviously, to just
they're not
build
selling
something.
it.
Right, because they're not selling it, but were they like, hey, do you have any, like, schematics we can, like, copy to, like, build this real life? How long would you say Miraidon's antennas are? We want to make sure we get them perfect. Like,
the models are out there. That's how Power World
yeah, the models are out there. You know, they'll do their thing. Okay. 2 more bits of news here. They kind of related, I guess, if you like real world events. The first one is from Business Journal, the San Francisco Business Times, bizjournals.com. The San Francisco will host the Pokemon World Championship for the first time since 2026. San Francisco's largest event venue for the city conventions, the Moscone? I don't know how to say that. The Moscone Center has recently been selected to host the Pokemon World Championships in 2026. I want to say that again. 2026, not next year, which would be 2025. They also say that they're doing some large tech conferences. They're doing a Super Bowl party for whatever LX is. L is 30, 40. I don't know what L is.
I thought L was 50.
Oh, yeah. Wait. Yeah, because Super Bowl is like way
Yeah.
down there. So X is 10. So Super Bowl 60?
Yeah. Yep, 60.
Yeah, anytime I think of like the numbers, I think WrestleMania, because that's the thing I actually watch. And I think WrestleMania is like at 40. Super Bowl's at like 60. That's a lot. Anyways, it's a lot. There's a lot to unpack here. Number one, I don't think the Pokemon Company is very happy about them revealing the 2026 venue.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Nope.
That's absolutely insane that just like some casual conversation with a reporter of like, hey, which events are you hosting? And they're like, oh boy, we got that Pokemon thing coming in 2026. I don't think that was supposed to happen. The Pokemon Company has said nothing about this, which is probably like any sort of like, yeah, it's probably true. Like, why would they lie about that?
Yeah,
why would a convention?
I mean, also we know how far in advance they make these contracts.
Yeah, that's the news I wanted to talk about, because I totally understand why people were mad about Hawaii. Totally get it. 100%. We don't need to have this conversation for the 5th time. But they would have had to book Hawaii 2+ years before they announced it. And it just happened like there was fires and everything, and that's very unfortunate. But like, I think the everyday normal I want to complain on Twitter person does not realize you just don't like casually walk into a venue and be like, hey, you guys free in 6 months? It doesn't happen.
Can you host this? I mean, if you've ever planned a wedding, you know that for that you're at least almost always a year out. Mm-hmm. And this is a lot bigger than a wedding. Like, you can sometimes do a wedding in a shorter amount of time, but generally, like, standard wedding venues book up a year in advance. So there's no way you're doing an entire convention.
Yeah, I mean, the fires aren't the only thing to talk about with them hosting an event in Hawaii, but
there's a lot.
Clearly, they plan this stuff out ahead of time.
Yeah.
The Hawaii conversation is a very big conversation, but it was not like the last one ended and they quickly spun around and said, Hawaii gets it.
Right. Yeah, that's just the point we're making. It's not like they got up on stage and was like,
Hawaii.
We picked Hawaii?
I mean, big events take a lot of planning. I mean, the Olympics
especially
doesn't happen
the 30th
in
anniversary World.
Yeah.
Since that's what we're talking about here.
So the other news from this is if they're coming to San Francisco in 2026, which I wasn't excited about Hawaii. I'm also not excited about San Francisco. Let me just be very clear here. They picked a place for 2025, but we have no clue where it is. So is it going to be America 3 years in a row? Although, like, unfortunately for, say what you will about Hawaii, it's all out there, but it's also just not convenient for most Americans to go to. Like, I feel like in a scale of like, I don't know, it cost me like $400 to fly to Florida. It cost me $300 to fly to New York. It cost me $500 to fly to LA. Hawaii is just expensive. It's just more, unless you got like a killer deal. Like, Hawaii is always, I feel like, closer to $1,000 to fly to, which is outside of budgets for people. And I'm just like, when you say like LA, or when you say San Francisco 2026, I'm like, I bet 2025 is going to be really good. Like, it's probably not going to be United States, but cool. Like, what country are you picking? Like, are you going to go back to Japan? Probably not. Are you going to go to Spain because they solved their issues with Spain. There's a long time where like they didn't want to go to Spain because they had some weird rules about prizes. That was the big holdup with Spain. Spain has really weird rules when it comes to tournament prizing, but I think they sorted that all out since there was obviously a tournament in Spain. Also leads into our Pokemon Go news where they're picking Spain again for something. So we'll get to that in a second. But here's my big problem with San Francisco. And this can happen in most cities, but like the recent, and again, I don't know how bad it is. It could be that the media has like overblown the problem. Is the smash and grabs in San Francisco is like much higher than any other city. So what happens is you fly in, and if you get a rental car and you're like slowly leaving out and you like stop to get gas or stop to get snacks or whatnot, like people will smash the back of your window and pull your luggage because they know you're coming just from the airport. And the advice is always like, when you get out of San Francisco, go directly to your hotel before you make any stop, any errand, drop off your stuff. And this is not like, this can happen in any city, maybe any American city, I should say. But the side note of like a Pokemon tournament is every time I go to a Worlds or anytime I go to this big Pokemon event, we always report on somebody's binder was stolen. And if I just think of thousands of Pokemon fans flying into San Francisco, even if the media is overblowing the smash and grab stuff, there will for sure be somebody's Pokemon cards getting stolen while they leave the airport. Hands down, that's going to happen. And unlike stealing a bunch of somebody's clothes from the back of their trunk, Pokemon cards are worth a lot. They're a lot harder to replace than, hey, you just stole 5 shirts, 5 pairs of pants, and my underwear. Like that sucks. That 100% sucks. But that's much, much easier to replace than like 5 binders of cards or your deck for a tournament or what you plan to trade or buy or sell. Like,
so I mean, they spiked smash and grab incidents in San Francisco has been dropping. They put in a bunch of stuff. It's dropped significantly over 2023. It is expected to continue to drop as they put more into that. There are other issues around. I mean, I like San Francisco as a city. I'm probably going to go simply because I have a ton of friends there. But San Francisco is really also expensive for an American city. It is a limited place. Like, a lot of San Francisco was just built to try to make more land, which is why earthquakes are really bad there. It's very expensive. The one good thing I will say about San Francisco is you don't really need a car. Their public transportation system is really great. The cable car system is really great. It's a beautiful city. It has like a lot of California areas, a large homeless problem. So there's a lot of positives and negatives around San Francisco. I think one of the biggest concerns that people should think about is San Francisco is expensive. It is one of the more expensive cities in the United States. Everything costs a lot there. That said, I finally have a reason to go back to San Francisco to visit all my friends. So I am excited for San Francisco because it gives me a good reason to just take a trip there, since I used to have family there and they are no longer there.
Speaking of taking trips, Greg, I was shocked that you booked a trip to New York for Pokemon Go Fest.
Why?
Because you don't like Pokemon Go.
Yeah, but I like New York. I'm still deciding if I'm going to buy a ticket to go see a show because I'm in New York and I want to see a show for sure.
But you bought your Go ticket though?
I bought my Go ticket. I found a hotel that is in an area that I like that was a decent price. So I got a hotel room.
Wait, are you gonna stay in Midtown?
Yeah, it's close to Empire State in that area. It's on one of the central lines.
Yeah, I would want anything off Green because I think Green gets you closest to Randall's.
Yeah, I think I'm on the Green line. I think also I have to like a lot of my initial New York neighborhood thoughts are from when I went there in the 80s. And it's a very, very different city. I went back in 2010, so I know, but my friends lived in Brooklyn then, so we spent a lot of time in Brooklyn and not in the city proper. So I looked at areas, so like, I don't think my memories of the 80s apply to this.
Probably not.
It's a very different city, but yes, I have that. I haven't bought a flight yet because it's way early for flights for me. I'm giving it time because I looked at a lot of the flights and I'm like, even half of the airlines that I know fly to New York haven't even posted flights yet. So, but I did buy a ticket. I did buy a ticket to go to the park Friday morning. And then I added City Day on Saturday. And then I have a bunch of people I know in New York. So I didn't want to pay for Sunday and be like, well, I'm seeing all these people. So
yeah,
I'm never going to use this thing. So I just, and also I can guarantee you by the end of Saturday, I will be over it. I will be done.
Okay, so they announced Pokemon Go Fest. They announced 3 locations. The first one, well, I guess we'll work backwards. New York City again. This was like not a surprise when the mayor of New York City like sat there and like raved about this in like a press conference and was like, we can't wait to have them back. It was like, oh, okay. Got it.
Word.
Yeah.
Got it. You definitely want this to happen again. Perfect. So that will be July 5th through 7th. The 7th is technically the anniversary, right? I think.
Yeah.
Right? July 7th is the anniversary of Pokemon
so,
Go.
Yeah.
This is I'm just going to get this out of the way. Out of the biggest complaint I saw out of the biggest announcement here was like, why did they pick 4th of July weekend? And I can answer this very easily. You pick the weekend the city gives you. That's it.
Yep.
I've talked to Niantic a bunch of times about this because like that was a big concern last year of like, why is London and Osaka the same weekend? And Niantic's answer was that was the weekend we were allowed to do it. I even remember being in Osaka and it was 111 degrees Fahrenheit, freedom units. It was hot. I have never seen beads of sweat leave my watch band. I was like, my wrist is sweating right now. That's never happened before. It is so hot out. And there were people in my Twitch chat being like, they should just delay it till next week. What does that mean? You think the 76 Expo Center just has nothing going on next weekend? And Niantic's like, hey, everyone we've paid this weekend, we're gonna pay you again to come back next weekend in an empty park that clearly has no. That's just not how it works.
Yeah, just fly on back here.
Yeah,
it'll only take a week.
Just keep everything up. Ignore the next week of events. This is not how the world works. So, like, I get it. It's a holiday weekend. That's it. That's what it comes down to. Is like Randall's Park was like, this is the weekend you can do, and Niantic was like, okay, that's how these things work. It sucks. Sometimes though, traveling on a holiday is cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
My 4th of July price was way cheaper than my July 3rd price and my July 5th price. So,
oh yeah.
Just check that. I don't know. I feel like maybe because I'm old, you don't. It's okay if you miss a 4th of July barbecue. It's fine. It's okay to miss your 4th of July barbecue. I promise. Well, and if that's important to you, then miss Go Fest.
Then go to one of the other Go Fests.
Yeah. June 14th through June 16th is in Madrid, Spain. Is Madrid a dangerous city? What's the bad Spain city? Isn't Spain the pickpocketing country? Is that what's media telling me?
You need
Where are we
to
getting
not.
pickpocketed?
You need to not listen to weird media stuff.
Yeah.
Get off Reddit.
No. I for sure know that like there's Seville, there's Madrid, there's Barcelona. These are all Spain, and one of them is better than the other.
I mean, as far as I know, Madrid is fine. It's no different than any other city. I have not heard anything like you'll die in Madrid or any of those.
Yeah, I've been there. It was fine.
Oh, you've been, Hannah?
For a day, yes.
Oh, okay.
In 2019. It was not very much time spent there. Mostly that was a few days in Spain where the most eventful thing was my family going to the southern tip of Spain to get Tropius.
I mean, Madrid's the capital of Spain, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is. I just remember when I was booking for Seville, people were like, "Oh, it sucks that it's like not near Barcelona or Madrid," and I was like, "Oh, I mean, those are bigger cities for sure than Seville," but I can't remember. I have to I booked. Niantic did not pay for me. Just disclosure. Maybe they will. Hopefully they will. Actually, please, Niantic, pay for one of them.
If you want to pay for my trip to New York, I'm into it.
Yeah, well, I'll try to get everyone in. I did pay for my flight for Madrid, and I did pay for my flight for New York and Japan. But I don't want to do the American thing of not knowing anything because I've never been to Spain. So I have to look that up. I have to look up cultures and stuff. But I'm pretty sure in Spain, their dinner is super late and everything. And they're not big breakfast people. So nothing's open really early. So I got to do all that research.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
I want to be educated before I go.
They are aware that tourists come to the capital of Spain, so there will be things to deal with tourists because they do know other people in the world exist and come to the capital of Spain every once in a while.
But also the late night vibes are kind of nice there.
Yeah.
So it's fun and pretty easy to get used to.
That sounds awesome. That's what I'm very into is late night vibes. And then they announced Sendai, Japan, which is May 30th through June 2nd. So all of these events are dramatically earlier than last Go Fest.
Yeah, they are.
And very spread out.
Which is nice. Which is probably also nice for Niantic's team. Because again, going back to why is Osaka and London the same weekend? And the answer was these are the weekends we were allowed to do. That probably really sucked for them to be like, okay, half our team needs to be in London and half our team needs to be in Japan. And we need to hopefully have no problems on either end, which I think both of those events went actually relatively smoothly. Sendai is northern Japan, so I believe it's an hour north of Tokyo. Sendai does have an airport. I'm going to tell you right now, don't fly into that airport. One, from MSP to Sendai, they had one flight every 3 weeks to Sendai, and it was twice as expensive as flying into Tokyo. So you're probably going to end up flying into Tokyo's airports if you're going, and you will have to take the Shinkansen up to that, which those prices also went up recently, which is unfortunate.
Yeah. The JR pass isn't as worth it anymore.
Yeah. So you'll have to make a trip up there. I'm pretty sure Sendai just had a big earthquake 2 years ago or 3 years ago. I can't remember. But I've been told it's very nice up there. And it is close to the Chansey Pokelids. And Sendai's Pokemon is Lapras. So that makes sense why Lapras is one of the featured Pokemon there.
Yeah. Is that the region with the Chansey Pokemon Park? With the giant Chansey?
Yes, I think the Chansey Pokemon Park is near Sendai.
It looks like there might actually be 4 of them. So, yeah, those are all in Fukushima. All pretty close by to Sendai. Nice.
Sendai also has 4 days instead of 3 days, which is Madrid and New York. Also, the pre-sale is done for Japan. They sold out all 4 days. They sold out.
Yep.
Saturday sold out within the first hour of the announcement.
That's why I was suggesting that people get the ticket even if they're not 100% sure, because that's the part that's going to sell out.
Yeah, Japan will 100%.
Oh yeah,
sell out for fine. But there should be more tickets. This was just technically pre-sale. So, but if pre-sale sold out in an hour, you're in trouble. Then there will be a 2-day online event for trainers around the world. You can buy the global ticket now. The worldwide would be July 13th through the 14th. And that is $15. And the Pokemon they are featuring is Marshadow.
Which, okay, that was why I was like, I'm definitely... Marshadow is my favorite, so I was like, this is all more reason why I'm going to go do this. I love Marshadow a lot. So I was like, 1,000%, yeah, I'm in.
Trainers will only encounter Marshadow once, no matter how many Pokemon Go Fest they go to. That is unfortunate. So if you are going to, like, I think that's not. Look, I get it. I'm insane. I'm going to all 3. But I think, like, if you were spending the money to go to, like, New York, and then you were like, oh, should I get the $15 ticket? Like, you wouldn't get another Marshadow. So you could maybe skip the global.
Except the global's the one with the shiny Jangmo.
Don't fall for it, Hannah. Don't fall for it. That's a community day Pokemon. You skip
but
it.
It's
Do
such
not
a good
fall
shiny.
Do not fall for the Jangmo bait. Don't do it.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
The only reason I got a shiny Goomy last year, which Goomy should be a community day this year, should be, right? Like, that should be the June community day or whatever. The only reason I got one is just because I just happened to hatch one. That was it. I wasn't trying for it. I hatched like 10 eggs that day. One happened to be Goomy, but I didn't do a single Goomy raid. I didn't fall for that. They've been pulling that trick for like 4 years now.
They have been.
Yeah.
There
will be a Jangmo community day.
There will be next year.
And you'll get 14 in one day, and you'll be like, this is enough. What am I going to do with them all?
I will be happy to have all the shiny Jangmo.
I mean, I got 3 in Scarlet and Violet, so I'm solid.
So I want to be very clear here, because this Go Fest is Sun and Moon themed, with the Marshadow, with the Pikachu wearing the Sun crown or Pikachu wearing the Moon crown. That means we're getting Ultra Sun 2, Ultra Moon 2 confirmed.
100%.
That's what Ilka's been working on.
Mm-hmm.
Look at these patterns. Clear as day. You all thought Johto. You all thought Unova. This was the sign right here that they're skipping it all. Pokemon Legends Savella.
By Ilka.
by
yeah.
Ilka. Ilka's making
win
a
all the
Legends
way
game.
down. Every part of that's a win.
Okay, so they are doing 2 new Pikachus, one with the Sun Crown, one with the Moon Crown. They're doing Eevees as well. Eevee with a Moon Crown, Eevee with a Sun Crown. I think the Eevees are only for the in-person Go Fest. I don't think they're for worldwide. Each Go Fest will have a featured Pokemon. So Sendai will have not Crabrawler or Ducklet off the top of my head. I can't remember which Pokemon Sendai has, but Spain will have Crabrawler as their featured shiny, and then New York will have Ducklet as its featured shiny, and then the regional Pokemon that will appear at all 3 will be Klefki, which, sorry to anyone who had a layover in France, your Klefki value has gone down.
Has plummeted.
Good for me, though, because I stocked up on the Buffalant, and Buffalant economy is still good. So when I go to Japan, I will be the talk of the town. Buffalant, still very good. Um, Hawlucha is still good. Hawlucha is still very good for that. Sigilif, I think Sigilif is still pretty good, except for not for Japan.
Sigilif
But
is slightly less because it was in the events last year, but Hawlucha
Yeah.
and Comfey, I think, are still two of the very rare ones.
right, but if you're going to Worlds in Hawaii, you don't have to worry about Comfey.
True.
And yeah, there's a lot of news here. They announced this earlier. They announced dates. They did their announcement for the announcement, but that was only like 48 hours ahead of time. This was great. Like, I feel like Niantic in the last couple months have been, I don't know what changed there, but they've been pushing all these quality of life improvements. They're announcing things earlier. That things are spread out.
It's as if they had a massive PR problem where they let 253 people go and everybody was mad. So now they're going to flood it with the things that they would have normally dripped out to make the life seem longer, to make everybody forget that they laid off 253 people.
We're going to keep calling them out for that, but also the quality of life updates are really nice.
Yeah, they are good.
Yeah, I think everyone has the heal all now, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
I got that.
Everyone
I
has
think I
the
got
heal
Revive
all.
All.
Yep. Those came out at the same time. Everybody also has the little button that shows up when you're friendship leveling up with someone, asking if you want to turn on a lucky egg to get the extra XP.
Oh, yeah. That
which
one
is
just rolled out
absolutely
too.
fantastic.
Who did I send? Yeah, there's. I guess as we get closer to the Global Go Fest, we could. There'll be more details and stuff out there. If you are on the fence of going, I believe I'm 100%. I'm like 98% sure of this. If you buy your ticket, you can do the add-ons later. I know when they first did
Yes.
add-ons, you couldn't do the add-ons later. So if you're listening to this podcast, if you're thinking about going to New York or Sendai or Madrid, buy the day you would prefer to play. My suggestion is always buy morning, because morning is much cooler than afternoons.
Mm-hmm.
And people are more energetic. The employees are more energetic because they haven't been there all day yet.
Yeah.
I think most of our communities are doing New York either Friday or Saturday morning. I think they're split. It was really, I mean, there's just split because, some people still have like jobs and they can't do Friday. So if you're picking between those two, Friday morning or Saturday morning, if you want to play with people. But again, if you're on the fence, if you haven't booked a hotel, if you haven't booked a flight, just buy your ticket. Just buy like Saturday morning for whatever it is, like $20. If you can't go, that sucks. But it's way better than like so many people in LA were like, I was gonna buy a ticket and it sold out, and like they lived in LA, they couldn't go.
I don't know if I'm gonna be able to make the flight work. I'm not completely settled on even housing stuff, just trying to figure that out, but I got my ticket for Saturday morning and we'll see. And last year I bought the add-ons day of, like the event had already started for that day, and I bought the city pass for that day, and it was fine. So the only thing would be the t-shirt.
You can add things on. Hotel and flights fluctuate a lot. Also, they drip feed information, so they will most likely have more announcements of the things that are happening at the event. As we get closer to the event, they'll generally announce new things or special things. So if you're like, I don't know if that's a value, they haven't told us everything yet. So we also haven't seen the shirt. We don't know what that is. Could be anything.
But they did text me that I could pre-order it.
You could pre-order it
this morning. Because it is Sun and Moon themed, with Marshadow, with the hats, it's probably safe to say that they will do something Solgaleo. I don't remember how the anime says it. And Lunala related.
Yeah.
Although those Pokemon aren't out yet. So Like, is that even exciting if they're not shiny and they just appear? We don't know anything about Necrozma, and Necrozma can merge with Solgaleo and Lunala. So is that like? I think Dawn Wings Necrozma, and Dusk Mane Necrozma are just going to be separated. Like, they're just going to be their own raids, like
Yeah.
Giratina or Deoxys.
They
Like,
tried
I
to
think
introduce a form changing feature and used it for 2 Pokemon and stopped.
That's
what
it.
two Pokemon were that?
Hoopa and the dog.
Furfru.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, you're right. Hoopa does have it. You have to like spend like 25 to change it.
I think so, yeah.
It's not great.
And I
Niantic
haven't
really
used
dropped the
it
ball. They
since.
could have just gave us 2 Hoopas. They messed up. So like, are those going to be in raids? There's also a bunch of like, this season started off with Poipole as an Ultra Beast.
Mm-hmm.
Poipole can't evolve yet. It will eventually evolve into Naganadel. I have not seen a single person say that name correctly, so none of them watched the Sun and Moon anime. It's Naganadel.
A lot of people didn't watch the Sun and Moon anime, to be fair.
Shaman can also change form.
Yeah.
3 Pokemon.
Oh, Shaman can. Okay. So is there going to be a bunch of Ultra Beasts at this? Like, we just don't know. Like, or they just do a Sun and Moon theme, and like I guess what I'm saying is like the raid situation is also what kind of tends to convince people.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't know anything about that. So
We could have the Necrozma, all of those forms with special adventure effects. Honestly, I could see that happening.
oh yeah, like Necrozma has its own adventure effect or something.
Yeah.
Or
And Dawn
Necrozma also has Ultra Necrozma, which don't know how that would work either. There's a lot there that
maybe they'll figure it out this year.
They could just do like all 4 Tapus are the raids.
Oh, true. And they could be shiny.
Like, there's a lot of raid Pokemon in Sun and Moon. There's how many Ultra Beasts? Like 12? There's the 4 Tapus. There's all the forms of Necrozma. There's just a lot they could put into raids. Some are definitely more exciting than others. But yeah. My goal of going to all of these is to like live stream them and to invite people to raids and to show people the cities they can't go to and stuff. And it's nice that they're slightly spread out. And also nice that like they're not overlapping with worlds either, because I did feel like that being so close was also like a travel mess for people to be like,
we're still just assuming, though. We don't have the dates for worlds yet, right?
Oh yeah, I guess it's never not been August.
Yeah.
There's probably a year where it was like maybe not August, but yeah. My final point here is, before we end the show, did Niantic learn? We could stop there. That could just be a celebration.
That's the end. Thanks for coming. Super effective.
Did Niantic learn that maybe having these events in August led to like heat stroke for a lot of people? Like, June is still hot, but not as hot.
Yeah, well, it depends on where you are in the country, but yeah. I have a feeling they want to spread them out just from a business perspective. You want things spread out simply because it's easier to get your employees around and to prepare. So I always have a feeling that they want to try to pick things that are spread out over the summer months when it's a little bit more temperate. But August tends to be the hottest month everywhere in the northern hemisphere, that is. It's not the same in the southern hemisphere. But again, I don't know that they have a lot of choice in what dates they get. I think they always want them spread out, and then they just go with, well, this is what we got, and you're going to deal with it.
Well, they have to be also planning like 2 years in the future, too.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
I didn't even see how much tickets were here. Looks like Madrid is 27 euros. What was New York? 25?
New York was, I think it was 25, but when all the
Yeah.
taxes and processing fees were added, it was about 30.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. It does say early bird special 25 plus
Yeah.
taxes and fees. Yeah, it looks cool. It looks like it looks like they're a little more ready this year, maybe, or at least they're presenting themselves more ready this year. And then Lytton Community Day will be this upcoming weekend, if I'm not mistaken. This podcast comes out on the 11th. Lytton Community Day will be Saturday, March 16th. And then the only Alola starter they got left is Poplio. So I do expect a lot of Gen 5 community days, though, this year, if we're assuming that Unova Tour will be in February. And they gotta knock
get
out
those out.
what else is not shining in
Yeah.
Gen 5, which is like Swaddle. Probably something else I can't think of. I was going to say Ducklet, but the
We're
Ducklet
getting
issue
it.
is solved. All right, well, I think that's our show. Go watch Horizons if you haven't. It's pretty all right. I think Horizons is worth 1 month of Netflix.
It's going to be an individual calculation. It's a good story so far. It's a good show so far.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Hannah. Gosh, there was one. Oh yeah. I was like, there's one thing I want to talk about. I was on the Nontendo podcast this week. So that should be up on their YouTube. That should be in their podcast feeds. It is a gaming podcast with a Nintendo focus. I was on this week. They lost their normal co-host, so they changed their structure to have like a rotating co-host every week. So I was the co-host this week. So if you want to check that out, if you want to hear more of me, there's a video version of that as well on like their YouTube and stuff. So that was fun. It was fun. You know what? My takeaway of that is I've done this show for 14 years. I stream on Twitch full time. And sometimes I forget, even talking to like a hardcore gamer like Wood, who plays a lot of Nintendo games, like through and through, makes a lot of Nintendo videos. I always forget how you can be such a hardcore video gamer and like your Pokemon knowledge is just not there. Like, and that sounds bad. Like, I'm not like that's no one's fault, but like my own of like being so deep in this franchise. But like when I was explaining one of the issues that I had with Legends, which was like Surf doesn't do what it does in old games, and that's frustrating as like a player. Like if I have 4 Zubats in front of me and I hit the Surf button, I can only target one Zubat. And at that point, that's annoying. Just make it like Water Pulse or something. Don't give me the option to Surf. That's just not how it worked in old games. And his response was like, I didn't even think of that. Like that wasn't even like anything that came up to me. And it was like, that hit me with a realization of like, you're not like an average player. You're not like somebody who just like buys a video game here or there. Like you're a hardcore video game player and like you didn't realize that. And I was like, what am I doing in life?
You're a Pokemon master, or at least you know a whole lot.
Whatever that is. Defined as.
So, so it's kind of funny sometimes that all of us on the show, or like people in our communities or Discords or our Slacks, like we are like, for better or for worse, in our own bubble of like these advancements in Pokemon that like we pick up on, but like a lot of people don't. They don't care.
There's a lot to know about Pokemon.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah, like there's probably somebody who absolutely loves Legends and they don't even notice or see any of the things that I think of when I play Legends, and that's fine. Like there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a different level of knowledge or personal preference or whatnot.
Everybody's got their own Roman Empire.
Finally, that question has been answered for me. I get to spin Pokemon this entire time. Using the move Swords Dance or Stealth Rock in Legends just keeps me up at night because it just doesn't do what it does in other games.
It doesn't do what it did.
But it was a really good conversation. I felt like I had good chemistry with Wood. So if you want to hear more of me, I'll link that podcast in the show notes as well. So otherwise, thanks for listening. Thanks for making it to the end. If you are watching on YouTube, let us know if you're going to go to any of these Go Fest. Whether you're hardcore or you're casual, or you just happen to live in Madrid, or you happen to live in New York City, and you're like, well, I'll pay $25 and jump across the subway to get there. Let us know in the comments if you're going to any of these events. Otherwise, we'll be back next week. This has been another This has definitely been another podcast. That's for sure.
Podcast.
This has been another podcast. Thanks for making it to the end. This has been another episode of the Pokemon Podcast, and we are
super effective.
Super trying to figure out how to ride that Miraidon motorcycle.
Ooh.
Even though I want to ride on one more.
Yeah, but that doesn't use wheels.
That's why it would be a better technological advancement.
Doesn't have to work perfectly just like the Pokemon. It could still be a really cool motorcycle.
Have you seen those robots that they've been developing that have the 4 legs that sort of walk real awkwardly?
Yep.
Give it time.
No.
Give it time, we'll get there.